Hello students, welcome to Karnataka DCE LMS e-learning platform. In today's session, let us learn about renal failure and anemia. The first topic is renal failure and dialysis as a part of treatment to renal failure. Introduction. Kidneys are a pair of organs which are located in our lower back of the body. So one kidney is present on each side of the body, and what is the function? Basically they filter blood and they remove toxins from the body. So these toxins are then sent to the bladder, which is later removed from the body during urination. But when the kidneys are now no longer able to filter and clean blood, they cause unsafe levels of waste product to build up in the body. So this stage is known as kidney failure or renal failure, and it can even lead to death. Kidney failure occurs when kidneys lose the ability to sufficiently filter waste from the body or from the blood. Many factors can interfere. Say for example, toxic exposure to environmental pollutants, certain medications, chronic diseases, severe dehydration in the body, trauma in the body can all meddle with kidney and may interfere with its health and function. Body becomes overloaded with toxins if kidneys can't do its regular job of cleaning. So this can lead to kidney failure, and it can be life-threatening if it is not treated. There are 5 stages in kidney disease. So it is measured with the help of GFR, that is glomerular filtration rate. If the GFR values are greater than or equal to 90, then the kidney is said to be in its healthy and hale condition. Whereas if the values fall below 15, then the stage is known as kidney failure. Moving on to the symptoms of kidney failure. Sometimes there may not exist any symptoms, or a combination of symptoms can be seen. So the most common symptoms of kidney failure are reduced amount of urine, swelling of the legs, ankles and feet due to retention of fluids caused by the failure of kidneys in eliminating the water waste from the body, unexplained shortness of breath, excessive drowsiness and fatigue, persistent nausea, confusion, pain and pressure in the chest, seizures, and also can lead to coma. So these are some of the common symptoms of kidney failure. What are the causes of kidney failure? First cause is loss of blood flow to the kidneys. A sudden loss of blood flow to the kidneys can also lead to kidney failure. So in this condition, kidney is working fine, but the problem is with the blood flow. So what could be the reason? It could be because of heart attack, it could be because of heart disease, liver disease, dehydration, because of allergic reaction, severe infection like that of sepsis, high BP, anti-inflammatory medications. They can lead to reduced flow of blood into the kidney. So this could be the reason. The second reason is with urine elimination. So when the body can't eliminate urine, then the toxic substances they build up and they overload the kidneys. Say for example, some cancers like prostate cancer, colon cancer, they block the urine passageways. So thereby it creates a problem with the elimination of the urine. Some other condition can also interfere with urination and can also lead to kidney failure, including kidney stones, enlarged prostate glands, blood clots within the urinary tract, and also the damage to the nerves that control the urinary bladder. So all this can lead to urine elimination problems. And other problems are generalized under other causes. Say for example, blood clot in and around the kidneys, infection, overload of toxins because of heavy metals, drugs, because of alcohol, inflammation of blood vessels, because of autoimmune disorders, and certain chemical drugs, diabetes, they also lead to kidney failure. So they're all summed up under other causes. Then how do we detect kidney failure? As I told you, the GFR, if at all less than 50, is indicative of kidney failure. So a test by name, creatinine test, which is basically a blood test, can help diagnose kidney failure. So this creatinine molecules, it is a molecule made in the muscle. So a normal kidney can remove this extra creatinine from the blood level. So if at all if creatinine levels are high in the blood, then it is indicative that the kidney is not functioning properly. So that is indicative of kidney failure. Now, what are the treatment options available for kidney failure? There are two major treatment options available for treating kidney failure. The first one is kidney transplantation. The second one is dialysis. Now let us learn about kidney transplantation. Let us not go into the depth because it is not mentioned in the syllabus. We'll focus more on dialysis. Kidney transplantation is basically an operation that places a healthy kidney into the body. As you can see in the image, a healthy kidney from a donor, or it can be even taken from the living person, because a person has a pair of kidneys, which means two kidneys are present. So even if a living person gives one kidney, he still has another kidney to survive. So it can be taken from the living donor also. In most cases it is taken from a live donor. So the healthy kidney is transplanted into the body just below the deceased kidneys. As you can see in the figure, the deceased kidneys, you can compare between the healthy kidney and the deceased kidney with respect to its color, the size. So the deceased kidneys are not removed. Until unless there is a complication of cancer or something like that, it is not removed. It is left in the body itself. And the new kidney is transplanted into the body just above the bladder and below the original kidney position. So in this way the transplantation is done. So it is done through surgery, and there are high chances of this new kidney being rejected because it's a foreign particle. The body does not keep quiet, and there are high chances that this graft can be thrown out of the body. So in order to avoid this, the person who undergoes kidney transplantation will be provided with immunosuppressor drugs so that the body does not reject this graft. If at all if the graft is still rejected, then the person can either opt for second transplantation, and he can follow up dialysis until he gets a second transplantation done. So this kidney transplantation is just a treatment and it is not a cure to kidney failure. Moving on to the second treatment option, that is dialysis. Dialysis filters and purifies blood using a machine that performs the function of kidneys. So therefore dialysis is also known as artificial kidneys. It is done in a device outside the body. Depending on the type of dialysis, patient may be connected to a large machine or a portable catheter bag. Dialysis does not cure kidney failure, but it can extend one's life if they opt for scheduled treatments. So here in the image you can see the dialysis setup. The blood is made to flow into the dialyzing machine, and it is made to pass through selectively permeable membranes called as dialyzer, and the waste that passes out of this dialyzer machine is collected, which is also called as the urine, and the blood which is now purified is again pumped back into the blood. So at any point of time only little amount of blood is going outside the body, getting purified, and it is again returning back into the body. So this is how a typical dialysis setup looks like. Now dialysis functions on the ultrafiltration of fluid through a semi-permeable membrane, and it is based on the concept of solute dissipation. So diffusion is a characteristic of materials in water which has a tendency to flow against the concentration gradient. So blood runs on one flank of the semi-permeable film and the dialysate flows on the opposite flank. A selectively permeable layer is a skinny membrane of material that comprises of pores of different sizes or holes. Minor solutes and fluids flow through the layer, but the membrane stops the path of bigger substances like proteins and RBC cells. So in this way it imitates exactly the glomerulus of the kidney. So therefore it is also known as artificial kidney. However, dialysis is not a permanent solution. Instead, it is only a temporary alternate to substitute the kidney's function until the kidney can repair itself. But if at all if the damage is chronic, then it can rarely get cured. So in that case, kidney transplantation is the best option. There are two different types of dialysis, hemodialysis and peritoneal dialysis. Let us learn now about hemodialysis. So hemodialysis also removes waste and extra fluid from the blood. So during hemodialysis, the blood is pumped through soft tubes to a dialysis machine, where it goes through a special filter called as dialyzer. So this dialyzer is what is known as artificial kidneys. As the blood is filtered, it is again returned back into its original bloodstream. So only a small amount of blood is outside the body at any point of time. And what is the treatment time? It takes about 3 to 5 hours and has to be done for about 3 times a week. So people who take up hemodialysis at home, they have more flexibility and it can be done every day. So if it is done every day, then the treatment time is cut short to just 1.5 to 2 hours. And the patient needs access into the bloodstream to place the needles for hemodialysis. So there are 3 types of access for hemodialysis. Now let us learn about them. The first type of access is fistula. So this fistula is mostly the recommended choice for access. So a minor operation has been made to create a fistula. So if there is a artery and a vein sitting next to each other, then they both are combined to form a bigger blood vessel known as a graft. And it is lying underneath the skin. So it's just a small operation. But in case if fistula is not possible, so the next possible access is called as a graft. If there is no arteries and veins together, then what is done is a small soft tube which is made of a synthetic material is made to join a nearby artery. So veins and arteries are connected using a short tube, synthetic tube, soft tube. So this is known as a graft. Again, it is done through a minor operation. When both fistula and graft is not possible, the next type of access, last type of access is the catheter. So this is the third type of access, where a large vein in the neck or the chest region is identified and it is connected to a catheter tube. So the ends of the tube lie outside the skin. This fistula and graft is beneath the skin, whereas the catheter is seen plunging outside the skin. So these catheters are used as a permanent access when both fistula and graft is not possible. Here you can see the catheter tubes lying outside the body. So it is connected to a large vein in the neck region. Moving on to the next type of dialysis, that is peritoneal dialysis. So it's a home-based treatment that can be done anywhere. It can be done anytime, and it is done every day. It is done daily. So it can be done at home, work, even when the person is sleeping. So again, a minor operation is done to place a catheter in the abdomen. In case of hemodialysis, a catheter is placed in the chest region or in the neck region, whereas in case of peritoneal dialysis, catheter is placed in the abdomen region, touching the peritoneum, which is the lining of the abdomen. So here the catheter tube is placed in the abdomen region. So with peritoneal dialysis, the blood is cleaned inside the body, not outside. In case of hemodialysis, the blood is purified outside the body, inside in a machine, in a dialyzer machine. Whereas in case of peritoneal dialysis, the blood is cleaned inside the body itself. So here the lining of the abdomen, which is also known as peritoneum, it acts as a natural filter. During treatment, a cleansing solution called as dialysate is pumped into the body. It flows into the abdomen through this PD catheter, which is a soft tube. The waste and extra fluid pass from the blood into this cleansing solution. After several hours, the used solution from the abdomen is drained and it is filled with a fresh cleansing solution to begin the process again. So removing this used solution and filling it with fresh solution takes about half an hour time, and this time is known as exchange time. Here in the image you can very clearly see that the dialysis bag containing the cleansing solution is pumped into the body, and the fluid which has the solutes and used materials are again drained away from the body in the drainage bag, and it is done in the abdomen region attached to the peritoneum. Moving on to the next disorder, anemia. Anemia is defined as low number of RBC cells. So in a regular blood test, anemia is reported as low hemoglobin count or low hematocrit. What is the function of hemoglobin? Basically, it is a protein present in RBC cells which carries oxygen and delivers oxygen throughout the body. So a person who has anemia also has low hemoglobin level and therefore low RBCs. So if it is low enough, then the body is deprived of oxygen, so it may not get enough oxygen. And anemia is the most common blood condition across the world. It affects about 6% of the population. Women, young children, people with long-term diseases are more likely to have anemia. Here in this image, you can compare between that of a normal blood and that of anemic person's blood. So in normal person's blood, RBC cells are greater in number, so the RBC count is high, whereas in case of anemia, the RBC count is low. So in that way, we can say the person is anemic. So blood test is enough to say whether a person is anemic or not. Moving on to the symptoms of anemia. The most common symptoms of anemia are dizziness, fast and unusual heartbeat. They get headache very often. They get pain, especially in the bones and joint region. It can pose growth problems in children and teenagers especially. There can be shortness of breath. The skin color turns pale or yellowish. The hands and feet are mostly cold. They are not warm. They feel tired and weak. Moving on to the types of anemia, there are many types of anemia. Sometimes anemia can be very mild and temporary. Say for example, during pregnancy, mostly women are anemic. So it can be treated with folic acid supplements and it's very temporary. But some anemia reflects serious underlying conditions. So the major types of anemia are aplastic anemia, iron deficiency anemia, sickle cell anemia, thalassemia, and vitamin deficiency anemia. Let us not go too much into the depth of the types, but let me brief you out about the types of anemia. The first type is aplastic anemia. We all know that bone marrow in the body is responsible for the production of new RBC cells. Suppose there is problem in the bone marrow region which does not produce enough RBC cells, then the condition is said to be aplastic anemia. Moving on to the next type, that is iron deficiency anemia. As the name suggests, it is caused due to deficiency of iron in the body. So if there is no iron available in the body, then the hemoglobin cannot be produced because hemoglobin has an iron component. So this leads to deficiency in hemoglobin, therefore deficiency in RBC count, therefore anemia. So this is iron deficiency anemia. The next type is sickle cell anemia. This is caused due to abnormality in the hemoglobin component, as a result of which the cells, RBC cells, instead of being round, they become crescent shape or sickle cell shape. So this is known as sickle cell anemia. Even it becomes sickle cell, the problem is they undergo premature death. Say for example, a RBC cell has a lifespan of 120 days. If at all, if it is a sickle cell, it may undergo destruction or death by 60 days. So even in that case also it leads to anemia. Now next type is thalassemia. Thalassemia is a genetic disorder linked to RBC cells, linked to the hemoglobin gene. So we know that hemoglobin production is influenced by a gene known as hemoglobin gene. If this DNA is mutated, then it leads to thalassemia. So there are two chains which make up the hemoglobin, known as alpha chain and the beta chain. If the alpha chain is mutated, then it leads to alpha thalassemia. If the beta chain is mutated, then it leads to beta thalassemia. Next is the vitamin deficiency anemia. This can be caused because of deficiency of vitamin B12. So again, this can be treated. Now let us learn about these images. In the first image, I have given contrast between a normal person's RBC and that of anemic person. So it differs with respect to the count of RBC. So it is very less in case of an anemic person. In the next case, it is sickle cell anemia. You can see, observe the shape of the RBC cell. It is crescent shape or sickle cell shape. So in that way, it is different from that of a normal person. In case of thalassemia, you can see that the RBC cells are malformed because of the defect in the hemoglobin gene. Because of the alpha and beta chains of hemoglobin component, the cells are malformed in thalassemia, and it is genetic disorder and it can be inherited also. And the next one is the contrast. It is not the contrast, it's about aplastic anemia. So here you can see that the bone marrow cells are responsible for the production of RBCs. If the bone marrow is defective, then it leads to shortage of production of RBCs. So this condition is known as aplastic anemia, which leads to production of only fewer RBC cells. at the production site, that is the bone marrow. Moving on to the causes of anemia. Anemia occurs when body does not have enough red blood cells. So this can happen if the body does not make enough red blood cells, and if bleeding causes lot of red blood cells more quickly than they can be replaced, or if the body starts destroying these red blood cells. So the various causes of anemia include iron deficiency, vitamin deficiency, anemia because of inflammation. Say for example, in disorders like autoimmune disorders and in Crohn's disease, it leads to inflammation, thereby it does hamper the RBC cells production. Next is aplastic anemia, that is the defect in bone marrow, and anemia forms like sickle cell, thalassemia and hemolytic. In hemolytic anemia, the RBC cells are destroyed at a faster rate than it is produced. So that is known as hemolytic anemia. It is one of the causes of anemia. Then how do we prevent anemia? Many types of anemia can be prevented, but one can avoid iron deficiency anemia and vitamin deficiency because they can be supplemented through diet and supplements. Say for example, iron rich foods are like beef, meat, beans, cereals, green leafy vegetables, dry fruits. They are rich sources of iron. So by consuming such foods, we can definitely prevent iron deficiency anemia. Next is folate. This folate is a synthetic form of folic acid. It can be found in fruits, green leafy vegetables, green peas, kidney beans, other grain products, peanuts, etc. So by consumption of these folate also, we can fight or prevent iron deficiency anemia. Next is vitamin B12. The foods that are rich in vitamin B12 include meat, dairy products like milk, butter, paneer, and fortified cereal and soy products. Next is vitamin C. Although there is no deficiency anemia related to vitamin C, consumption of vitamin C helps absorption of iron. So therefore, in that way, it can prevent anemia. Moving on to the treatment options available for anemia. Anemia that is caused by inadequate amounts of iron, vitamin B12, folate can be treated with nutritional supplements. In some cases, even injections of vitamin B12 can be injected if at all, if it has not been absorbed by the digestive tract. Then the doctors and nutritionists can prescribe a diet that contains proper amount of vitamins, minerals and other nutrients. So a proper diet can help anemia from recurring. If at all, if anemia is severe, then they can use, doctors use erythropoietin injections to increase the RBC cell production in the bone marrow. If bleeding occurs or if the hemoglobin levels are very low, then a blood transfusion is required. Whereas for treating genetic disorders like thalassemia, blood transfusion is one option, and the best option is bone marrow transplantation. So here in the image you can see the blood transfusion. So and in the second image you can see the erythropoietin injection that is being given to the bone marrow to increase the RBC cells. To quickly summarize, kidneys, when they can no longer filter and clean blood, it leads to waste buildup to unsafe levels, and that stage is known as kidney or renal failure. There are two treatment options available, that is kidney transplantation and dialysis. Dialysis is also known as artificial kidney, and these are only treatments and are not cure for kidney failure. Next, moving on to anemia, it is defined as low number of RBC cells due to low hemoglobin, and anemia is caused due to deficiency of folic acid and vitamin B12, can be treated using diet and supplements, whereas other types of anemia needs treatment like blood transfusion, erythropoietin injection and bone marrow transplantation. Thanks for watching.